And welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror. And welcome to my special 2024 Best of video. This is where I will discuss and show off the best horror of 2024, according to me, which I am sure will seal my reputation with professional critics as so very lowbrow. um, to be considered for my top list, you have to, of course, be some kind of horror. You have to have a physical release, and I have to own you. So yeah, that's the way it goes with me. That's just my rules. And yeah, so you're not going to see any weird films on some weird streaming service that I had no way to see to begin with. I'm not going to do that to anybody else. I'm not going to put something on here and praise it and tell people they should see it when it's locked up on some streaming service somewhere and they can't see it. It's just no point. So, I had 21 contestants. I actually had 22, but I can't remember where I put the other movie. It's somewhere, and I didn't grab it, so it just, it's fine. And that was The Watchers by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. But I don't know where I stuck it, somewhere in these 3,000 movies somewhere. But, so, yeah, I have my little stack of 21. Of course, those 11 will be what you would call honorable mentions, but I did rank them anyway. So it's actually the top 21 horror films of 2024. So let's begin. As I said, sealing my lowbrow reputation, we are going to start with number 21. And that is the little indie teen slasher or college slasher, hashtag all my friends are dead. Now, I gave up on waiting for a Blu-ray release. This is only released on DVD, so I had to take it as such. This movie was so funny. If you haven't seen it or don't know what it is, kind of think Bodies, 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 but the people are better looking, and it's funnier than Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I liked the storyline. I liked the cast. It was crazy and silly and stupid and really, really. The kills were like really gross. I had a really good time with this movie. What does it say? From the producer of Happy Death Day and the director of The Collector. Really? Well. But, now I think about it, the kills in the movie. Yeah, I could see The Collector director doing this. But I really loved this movie. I liked it. It's a cheesy little indie slasher, and it's just right up my alley, with slasher being my favorite subgenre of horror. I really liked this movie. Moving on to number 20, that was 21. We have It's a Wonderful Knife. Is that 2024? Or did I screw up? Well, it was in my 2024 list. But anyway, in It's a Wonderful Life, I just really liked it. I really liked it. Justin Long is just hilarious. The whole movie is hilarious. And I think that's what it is that people, right there at the cusp of the year, it's hard to remember. You're going all the way back to January to try to find these horror movies. But yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. I love this movie. I really, really like this movie. I thought it was very well done. Funny as hell. The girl is funny. The family is funny. Everything is funny. I liked this movie. Moving on to number 19, we have this very interesting slasher called Founders Day. I've never had to think so much in a slasher. I love it's like, I don't know, it's like Friday the 13th meets House of Cards. It's got this political undertone. I like the storyline and the twists and the turns. And it was just a very, what I would call a more brainy slasher. But at the same time, the kills were monstrously good. I mean, just bloody cool kills. So I really liked Founders Day, and it did make my top list. Moving on to number 18, we have Deer Camp 86. Now this, unlike that other camp slasher, Camp Pleasant Lake or whatever it was that made my number 2 of the worst movies of the year, this is a really good camp slasher. I love the storyline. I love the cast. It was so funny and it was so good. And in my opinion, it is the 18th best horror movie of the year. Yes, that's my list I'm holding right here. But it is definitely the 18th best horror movie that was released in 2024. I just absolutely loved this movie. If you haven't seen it, you really should. Coming in at number 17, we have the creature feature Sting. Now, I know everybody talks about Infested, but I can't find Infested. I wasn't able to get Infested. I'm still looking for it. Hopefully somebody will release it in a manner in which I can get it. And yeah, but I liked Sting. I thought it was really good. The kills were really good. The story was really good. I had a really fun time with this movie. And it's a cute little creature feature. I liked it a lot. Number 16, we have Wesker from Resident Evil. Sean Roberts. This is one of the most hilarious, funny, bloody, gory messes that I have ever seen. It's very, very funny. The kills were amazing. The blood was just way too much. Sean was absolutely great in this movie. Definitely a popcorn horror movie, and I am really, really glad that they released it on physical. It was released, I believe, in February of 2024. Yeah, so that's number 16. Coming in at number 15, we have The Strangers Chapter 1. This is the 4K Blu-ray digital box set. I didn't have a lot of problems with this movie that other people did. I knew it wasn't a prequel. I knew it was just a popcorn slasher and the beginning of a new trilogy about the Strangers, based on the Strangers. So I wasn't disappointed because I knew what I was going into when I got it. That's fine with me. I really, really like this movie. It made me jump many, many times. So I am a fan of The Strangers Chapter 1. I don't compare it to the others. It is a thing of its own, like movies are supposed to be. And so, yeah. Coming in at number 14, this is going to upset some people maybe. We have Late Night with the Devil. Now, as I said, Late Night with the Devil, I didn't rave about it as much as other people did. You see it's on my list, and I loved all of these movies. I loved Late Night with the Devil. It did not give me what I thought it would give me based on what other people were saying, making such a hoopla about it. I'm like, well, yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. It's a really good movie, but it just did not. It wasn't as full of demonic goodness as I thought that it was going to be, but I still loved it a great deal, and it comes in at number 14 on my top 21. So I still love it, and I'm glad that I have it, and it's rewatchable, and everything's really cool. Just not as much as everybody else seemed to praise it. We're up to number 13. This is Nicolas Cage, who's on my list twice this year. This is Arcadian. I really love the creatures in this movie. Were very scary. I loved the story. What made it a lot lower than I thought it was is there's a certain part of a storyline in there that I don't particularly like. Because I'm really bored with putting that little side storyline in every damn horror movie. And I'm sure you can guess what that is. I'm just really tired of there always having to be some romantic angle to everything. Just give me a horror movie, please. But other than that, I really love this movie. All three of them, the two brothers and Nick, was just absolutely great in this movie. It was definitely a dystopic, well, no, post-apocalyptic, great a post-apocalyptic movie and horror movie, and I really loved it. I love the creatures and I love the ending, except, well, what happens to Nick. Now we're up to number 12, so we're almost near the top 10. We're still in the, I guess, what you would call honorable mentions. At number 12, How the Mighty Have Fallen. Yes, How the Mighty Have Fallen. At number 12, we have Maxine. I still love this movie, but do I consider it, it's more like a thriller. You know what I mean? It's got a couple of really cool kills in it, but that's all. It's just a couple of really cool kills. It's mostly a lot of character development and smart-ass behavior. I, of course, love Mia Goth, and I loved the movie. Kevin Bacon was awesome in it. I actually loved when he got killed. So it's not that... So what I meant by the mighty have fallen is that, Pearl and X were the top of the year for me in the year that they came out. And yet I have to, so I expected a whole lot more. I expected it to be different, and I wish that it was. And so, like most people, and it was, most people were disappointed with Maxine, thinking it would be something else. That wasn't a seizure. That was me trying to get the slipcase to come down. But yeah, I still had a really good time with it, and I of course love watching Mia Goth be Mia Goth, but at the same time, it was a big step down from Pearl and X. And at number 11, we have the side movie, A Quiet Place, Day One. I did really enjoy this. Once again, I knew that this movie had nothing to do with the first two. They are working on a sequel to the first two to finish up the story of that family. So we'll have to wait for that. I knew that in the meantime, this was just a side movie. It was not a prequel to that family. That it was just like I said, a side movie of this universe. It had a lot of interesting stuff in it. I really loved their performances, him and her, and the cat. My brother loved this movie too. So yeah, but I knew what I was getting when I went into it, and I think that's the reason why I enjoyed it, maybe more than some people did. Because I certainly understand that if you expect something, and instead you go in and get something else, that you might be a little disappointed. So I feel for anyone who thought this was a prequel to the other family. And not just a independent side movie on its own. And so there you go. That finishes off at number 11. We have A Quiet Place, Day One. That finishes off the honorable mentions, the bottom half, and now we move on to the top 10 movies, the top 10 horror movies of 2024. And I am going to piss you off so deliciously from the very beginning. And that is at number 10, because it is, and he had to be, because I am who I am. And that is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I was so excited that they were, going to continue the story. I knew that with the success of the first one, which I loved, that they had so much more money and were going to be able to really expand on and do what they wanted to do, and they did. I got everything that I wanted and more from this movie. It is what it is, like Cocaine Bear or something like that. I had a huge, gigantic good time with this movie, and I love it, and it is number 10 on my list. Deal with it. At number 9, we have this wonderful slasher, In a Violent Nature. one of the best slashers released in a long time. So as you see, slasher is my favorite subgenre, which is why you saw there were, what, 2 or 3 more on here. You know, you had Founders Day and All My Friends Are Dead, and, you know, now you have this. I think In a Violent Nature is an absolutely phenomenal slasher, and I enjoyed it very much, and it comes in at number 9 on my list. Coming in at number 8, we have James McAvoy in Speak No Evil. Now, I am very, very familiar with the original. I love the original, and in my opinion, the original is still better. But I think they did a great job remaking it for North American audiences, which I don't see why the other one isn't for North American audiences. It's just, you know, you have to read subtitles or get a dubbed version. But I absolutely love the original, and I do love this. I loved James Spader. James Spader. What the hell? I'm back in Breakfast Club. Not that he's in Breakfast Club, but he's the Brat Pack. You know what I'm saying. James McAvoy. I love James McAvoy in Speak No Evil. He did a really, really good job. To me, it wasn't quite as terrifying as the first one, as the original, but he certainly did a great job. Moving on to number 7, we have one of the best vampire movies released in a long time, and that is Abigail. I had such a good time with Abigail. It was bloody vampire goodness, and yeah, it was great. I absolutely loved Abigail. And there you go. It is number 7, and as I said, I just really liked everything about it. I liked the actors, I liked the cast, I liked the setting, I liked the twist. I thought the cast did a great job. It's a real shame that that boy, I can't think of his name right off his hand, but, you know, one of the actors in this, the one that played the gangstery little boy, he died, like, shortly after making this movie, and so he died before it was even released, and it was a shame that he didn't get to, you know, but that's what happens when you do the kind of stuff he did. So that was sad, though. So, but I love Abigail, and it comes in at number 7 of my top 10. Now, unlike The First Omen, which, you know, pissed me off for a specific reason, we have the really best nun horror movie of 2024. And that is, coming in at number 6, we have Sydney Sweeney in Immaculate. Genuinely scary, yes it was. I really, really like the storyline. I like how they brought in DNA and genetic engineering and stuff like that as they try to bring forth Jesus, when actually they don't show you what they actually did bring forth, but whatever it was must have been awfully horrible considering what she did. But yeah, I loved Immaculate. I think Immaculate is one of the, well, it's the 6th best horror movie of the year. Tell me what you think. Now we've made it to the top 5, and coming in at number 5 as one of the top 5 horror movies of 2024, we have Alien Romulus. As I said in whatever I was talking about it before, in my update video, I really, really enjoyed this. It really kept me mesmerized. I had a really good time with this movie. And my most exciting component of this movie at all is the fact that it was a hit. Oh, I love the way that kind of works out really well. It looks like a xenomorph underneath it, don't it? Anyway, Alien Romulus was a hit at the theaters. It was a hit in physical sales, and therefore it is getting a sequel. And because it was such a hit, they greenlit Ridley Scott to make a 3rd horror movie, a new Alien movie of his own, which will be most likely, as he said, it will be a conclusion to the Prometheus Covenant trilogy, and I'm very glad that that's on its way. And number 4, the 4th best horror movie of 2024 is Strange Darling. I absolutely loved this movie. It was freaky goodness from hell. I loved the twist in this movie. It was absolutely fantastic. It was weird that you watch it out of order. You know, it's 6 chapters, and to keep the suspense, they're shown to you out of order. But it actually works that way, really good. And then when I was through watching this, I then went and watched them in order, and it was, you know, of course I knew all the twists and everything, but I liked watching it both ways. But I'm glad, you know, my suggestion would be that you watch it the way that it is presented. It's 6 chapters, and they are out of order, but it's meant that way for a reason. And once you're through watching the movie and getting the enjoyment and the thrills and the tension and the twists, you can then stop and watch it chapter by chapter in order, and it makes a good movie that way too, and it doesn't spoil the twists. So yeah, I watched it twice in a row that night that I watched this. Strange Darling is definitely the 4th best horror movie of the year, because let me tell you, my top 4 was a big fight, you know. And coming in at number 3, we have one of the best horror sequels ever made, and that is Smile 2, and I totally agree with that statement. I was blown away by this movie. It's the 4K Blu-ray digital box set. I was completely blown away by this movie, how good it was, how scary it was. I jumped way more than once. But when you had me nearly jump out of my chair within 5 minutes of the movie starting, you got me. You got my attention. I love the way that they did it. The ending is just mind-blowing. I don't know where they could take it after that. But I am certainly interested to see. I had a phenomenal time with this movie. And like I said, these 3 movies were such a fight. You know what I'm saying? And coming in at number 2, we have Nicolas Cage's second appearance in my top list this year, and that is Longlegs. So Longlegs came in as my second best horror movie of 2024. I'm telling you, this is a neon release. Neon is like so shitty. I'm surprised they even had a slipcover. But you can't get anywhere. Nicolas Cage was just unrecognizable. I mean, if you didn't know that was him, you'd never know that was him. I absolutely had a phenomenal time with this movie. It was directed by Oz Perkins, you know, so that's Anthony Perkins' son. He did The Blackcoat's Daughter, which is another favorite movie of mine of all time. He's now doing The Monkey, the Stephen King story, The Monkey. So I'm very interested to see that. But yeah, I loved this movie. I loved the twist ending. It just blew me away. It was, you know, he said that he wanted to make a Silence of the Lambs type film, and he certainly did. And it was absolutely amazing. And yeah, let me know what you think. And we are down to placing the crown on the head of the winner of 2024. Some of you who have been keeping track of this list may be going, what other big one? I don't know. What was the other big one? Is there something else? I wonder what it is. I wonder what it is. Well, I'm about to tell you what it is. Coming in at number 1, taking the crown for 2024, we have Demi Moore and Dennis Quaid in The Substance. Demi Moore's performance in this movie was phenomenal. And this movie is a complete and totally unabashed masterpiece. So, like I said, there was a big fight in my heart between Smile 2, Long Legs, and The Substance, and even a little bit with Strange Darling, because that's how good Strange Darling is as well. But in the end, I had to admit that The Substance is the best horror movie of 2024 and one of the best horror movies in a very long time. Demi Moore was absolutely phenomenal in this movie. She even made me cry at one point. That part where she had got a little of her self-esteem back and was going to go out with that Fred guy. And every time she got ready to walk out the door, she would see pictures of Sue, and it would kill her. It would kill her self-esteem until she finally gave up and didn't go, and it broke my heart. It just broke my heart. I believe The Substance is so full of underlying themes, fears. In my opinion, if you're over the age of, I don't know, age trauma happens to different people at different times. There are people, I remember one of the earliest ones is like my aunt. I have an aunt, her name is Lula Dean. My Aunt Lula, I was a little kid, but my Aunt Lula, she went into a free fall depression when she turned 25. 25. Not 55, but 25. All the family knew it. She just it broke her to turn 25. She wouldn't have a birthday. She was upset if you mentioned it. She had her age trauma very, very young. But I think anyone, over the age of 28 maybe would see how scary this movie is. And Demi Moore puts out those emotions so well. So whatever, if you haven't reached your age crisis, age trauma, where you realize, I always use the example of what Soren said to Captain Picard in Star Trek Generations. Because when he was trying to talk to the captain, and the captain, was busy and upset and wouldn't listen to him, and Soren stopped him and said, because he's like, I'll be with you in a minute, just give me time. And Soren, stopped him and just yelled, time is the fire in which we burn. All those regrets, all the knowledge of knowing that there are fewer days in front of you than are behind you. And it just broke Captain Picard in that moment. You could see it all over his face. And that's what I mean by age trauma. It's weird that my aunt went through hers at the age of only 25, but people are different. So whether it's, turning 25 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, whatever it is, this movie really reaches in and takes that fear and all of the things the society does about age and scares you to death about it all, because you can't watch this movie and not admit that all that bothers you. The lines on your face, the drooping of your butt, whatever it is that makes that, like Dolly Parton says, time is always marching. Time marches on, and usually it's right across your face. And that's the whole point. So this movie touches you on on so many levels. Then, of course, you have the body horror. This movie is there were definitely scenes where it was just so gross. And the biggest surprise about this movie was when I found out who did it. Coralie. She is the woman who made 2017's Revenge. That is one of my top 5 vengeance horror films of all time, is Revenge. Where the girl was taken to the desert by that butthole, and his friends showed up and they killed her, and she came back and got revenge. I see why this is so good, because that is one of my top 5 horror movie, vengeance horror films of all time is 2017's Revenge. And this is her movie as well. This is her. So, yeah. The crown goes to Demi Moore and Coralie. In The Substance. What an absolutely masterpiece work of art this movie is. And, yeah. And there you go. That's the #1 movie of the year. 3 and 4. So, there you go. There's your top 5 right there. Strange Darling. Alien Romulus, Strange Darling, Smile 2, Long Legs, and The Substance. The Substance takes the crown. It is the best horror movie released in 2024, in my humble horror opinion. Tell me what you think about any of these. Drop your favorite horror movie in the comment, or at least your top 5 maybe, or a link to your listing of the best of 2024. I would love to see it, and I will see you in the next thing I do. Love you, miss you, bye-bye. And always remember and never forget, you are a very, very special person, even if you had not taken The Substance, in which case you're 2 very special people. And I love you very much, and thank you for stopping by. And no matter, you'll be alright. You know what I'm saying? Time marches on. Take care of yourself. Take care of your skin. But don't be silly about it. Just do what you can to wear it well. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.